Hello everybody, Bruce here with a video on positioning in HTML and CSS. In Canvas, let me make sure I have the right page here. There's a couple pages in Module 6, Chapter 6, pages 226 to 231, that talk about the CSS you can use for positioning elements. So some of the terminology: position is the property. It's a keyword that determines how an element is positioned. See the table below for possible values. So we're going to skip down to that table. Static: the element is placed in the normal flow. This is the default. So if you don't place, a position static, it is that by default. The next one is absolute. Now, I'm going to show you this one. The element is removed from the flow and is positioned relative to the closest containing block that is also positioned. The position is determined by the top, bottom, left, and right properties. Again, I'm going to show that one to you. Okay, and then let's see. Fixed: the element is positioned absolutely relative to the browser's window. The position is determined by the top, bottom, left, and right properties. I believe I have an example of that too. And then relative: the element is positioned relative to its position in the normal flow. The position is determined by the top, bottom, left, and right properties. Okay, so let me just show an example here. So this is a page. It looks like this, and you're going to say it looks kind of like the float stuff we looked at in a prior video, but it's a lot different. We're not simply floating this thing here. We're actually positioning it somewhere in this body area right here. All right. So the main tag is the main area, and then we have an aside, and that aside is actually this little thing here. Again, like a prior video that you saw on floats, right? Next, I have an unordered list with a couple of list items, and there's an anchor tag in each one of those list items, and then a paragraph for please contact us. Okay, so you can see, right, we have the three unordered list items. We have the links inside each list item, and then please contact us for the tickets is here just as a paragraph. All right, so let's look at the CSS now. Okay, not much to it. So they're just setting the margin, the default margin for paragraphs to 0. And let's look at the body. So we have a width of 550 pixels. That is this width right here that you see of that box. In fact, they put 0 on the top, 25 left and right, and 20 on the bottom. Again, that's how you read that. They put a 1 pixel border solid around the entire body, and they added position relative. Now that's necessary because when you have elements that you're going to position differently, like this aside in a second, you have to declare position relative here. And if you don't, right, if you don't do that, look, it's gone. Well, it's actually here because it's not relative to this. It's just somewhere else, right? So if I do that, you can see it's within the place where I want it. Okay. The other thing that you need to know is this is the aside, right? The selector for the aside. It's got a width, it's got padding, it's got a border, and now it has this new thing called position absolute. And we're positioning it absolutely, like right there. And we're saying from the right, go 30 pixels over. So from this right side here, where my mouse is moving, this is 30 pixels. And then from the top, go 50 pixels. So from the top, it's gone 50 pixels. So check this out, right? So if I make the right, say, like no pixels, right, or just 0, it's kissing up against the border right there. You see that? And if I make it, say, I don't know, 50 pixels, see it's moved over further, right? Let's change the top now. Let's push it down. So to push it down, we're going to increase the number of pixels. Let's make it 100. And it's all the way down there. Do you see that? So we're absolutely positioning it. This is the right side. This is the top side. We could do left if we wanted to too. So if we said, and this is just going to be bad, but watch this. If I say left, just make it at 50 pixels, right? Left 50. Oh, see, I told you it's going to be bad, right? Because you can position it anywhere, right? You can position it anywhere you want, right? As long as you set it to absolute positioning, and the container that it's in, right, which is the body, right, because the aside, right, if you look, if you look at the markup here, right, the aside is in the body, right? So the body is what we make relative, and then the aside is what we position absolute. And you know, this is all new, and it's going to take some practice to get used to. But watch this video a couple times, and you'll start to see how absolute positioning can be beneficial. I can't tell you how many times. Let me fix this. Who made it like that? Right? Where this could be like an image of something, right? And you want to, maybe you're creating a card interface, as they're called, and maybe you want to have different, various things. Like pictures, or I don't know, buttons, whatever. So you could do that. You can position absolutely, elements on your web page. All right. So that's the first demo. The second demo. Let me close this folder. Let me find it here. File, open, recent. Which one was it? Absolute and fixed. It's one of these. Let's see. Actually, let me open it up. File, open. I thought I had it. Let's see. Desktop, Clark. Let's see. Book. What am I doing? Layouts. Fixed sidebar. That's what it's called. And you can download it. It's in Canvas. So let's look at the page. A lot of markup here, right? Hey, this page looks familiar, right? This is actually a more styled version of the speaker page. But you see this area right here? You see this little box on the right? Watch what happens. I'm going to scroll. Ooh, look at that. It stays right there. It's kind of fixed. It ain't moving. So let's look at the HTML. So it's the speaker page HTML. It's a lot of HTML, but that's not the concern. The concern, right, is this aside thing right here, this aside markup right here from lines 19 to 32, right? That's this stuff right here. This season's guest speakers, this season's guest speakers, right? So let's look at the CSS, because that's where the magic is at. Let's see, where is it? CSS, speaker.css, that's where the file is. All right. So let's look at the aside. Actually, there's a lot of markup here. Let's see. Woof. Article. Aside. Okay. So no absolute positioning. Do you see that, by the way? So, because the position is fixed. It's fixed from the right at 0 and from the top of 170 pixels. So this is 170 pixels and this is 0, right? So do you see how that works? Do you see that? Aside. So it's position fixed because it don't move, right? And it's 0 pixels. In fact, let's just make it 20 pixels so you can see this, right? 20 pixels. And you see how it moved over here? It's hard to see. Let me do it more. Let's see, where do we go? Aside, aside, aside. Let's just make it 50 pixels. See what kind of damage I could do. Yeah, see, it's moved over and it's fixed. You've seen that on web pages. So what else? What else here? What else did I want to show you? What else did I want to show you here? There's a lot of markup in here. So that's all you need to do. You don't need to do position relative or anything like that. That's for absolute positioning. So again, just apply position fixed. And a lot of people do this with like footers or things on the on top of the page. It gets a little tricky, but just know that position fixed will yield you what I just did right here. You can have this fixed thing while you scroll around. All right, so that's it. That's all I got for this unit. Have a good day.